If you're looking for a job that offers a great career path or upward mobility, you're looking for the wrong thing. Today we're going to talk about the problem of following somebody else's predefined path for your career. And then we're going to spend some time talking about how you can actually plan your own career and how you can make decisions that will help you grow from a junior developer to a senior developer faster and more efficiently than most career paths will. Hey Junior Devs, Dev Mentor Dave here, helping you bridge the gap from learning to code to launching a successful career. Leave a comment below telling me why you think looking for a career path with a specific company is a bad idea, or maybe what you think you should be looking for your next step in your career path. So what do we actually mean when we talk about a career path? As a junior developer, your goal is to move from being a junior developer to being a senior developer and leveling up and being successful. Many companies offer a pre-designed career path that takes you from one stage or one level and up multiple levels to a specific endpoint. Most of those career paths are really built to handle compensation increases, not necessarily helping you achieve being a better and better developer. Every company determines their compensation and their career path differently. Having a specific title in one company doesn't mean you'll have the same title or role or compensation in another company. As somebody who's out here trying to help junior developers actually go from being a junior developer to having a successful career and move in that progression from a junior to a mid to a senior level developer, I often get this question: what is the path that I should take? Or what are the steps that I need to go through? And the reality is, unfortunately, there isn't one particular path that fits for everybody. That's why it's not a good idea to look for or lock yourself into someone else's path. When I was at my first dev job, I was doing WordPress development, and as you've probably heard on other videos in the past, I was making the least amount of money of any of the developers in the company because I was the only person who was doing WordPress work. And to be honest with you, most people kind of look down on WordPress work as if it's kind of a lower skill set. When the time came for me to need more money, I went to the company and I said, hey, I need to make more money or I need to do something else. And what's interesting is, instead of just saying, okay, how much do you need, and negotiating a salary based on what it was that I was doing, what they wanted to do was move me from my position as a WordPress developer to being just a PHP developer, because in their mind, that was a step up from being WordPress to being a PHP application developer. So the first problem with following somebody else's path is most of the time it's based on compensation. In order for them to pay me more, they were going to have to change my title. They were going to have to move me up the ladder, so to speak, in my career progression within the company. Again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what my title is. What matters is, what do I do and how much you're going to pay me. So you need to be aware that when you're evaluating somebody's career path, more than likely it's based on compensation, not so much based on your skills or based on your knowledge or based on what you can actually provide for the company. But there's a second reason why you shouldn't just follow somebody else's career path. Shortly after that job, I had another job as a contractor with another company here in the Kansas City area. As I talked to many of the employees there at the company, I found that they had actually gone through a lot of developers in a very short period of time. And what happened was, they had developers who were really good at doing development, and so they rewarded them by pushing them up the ladder of career progression. Well, in that company, what that meant was you moved from a developer to a team lead and into more management roles. Well, the problem with that is not everybody has the skill set to be a manager. Not everybody wants to be a manager. Some developers just want to write code, and they want to do it for all their life because they love writing code, and they don't want to sit there and manage other people. They don't have the skill set. It's not what they want to do. And so what was happening was, they started losing developers. They would promote somebody to a lead, and then they would just leave the company because they didn't want to deal with managing people. So the second problem with following somebody else's path is that it's pretty much a one-size-fits-all path. It's not customized to you and what you want to do and what your goals are for your career. It's just, hey, this is our cookie cutter path and everybody goes through this path if you want to make more money. That's the second problem. It's always a one-size-fits-all solution. But there's a third problem with following somebody else's path. I recently watched a documentary about a woman by the name of Temple Grandin. And if you're not familiar with her, she's an autistic woman who years ago started making great strides in the area of cattle slaughtering. Now, what does this have to do with development? Well, one of the things that she noticed when dealing with cattle was they were getting scared and they were getting agitated, and there would be problems in the process and the flow in which they were forced to go by the cattle hands, and it was causing things to not run as smoothly as it could. And so she designed a process so that the cattle would follow a specific loop, and they would follow kind of the way that they naturally wanted to go, and they would just basically walk right into being slaughtered. And the cattle didn't know any better because they were just following a very well-devised plan. And that's really the third problem with following somebody else's plan. You tend to get a false sense of security and a false sense of success. When you're being told, hey, you're climbing the ladder, you're making more money, you're being more of what we want you to be, you're kind of getting that pat on the back and you're getting that compensation, and it feels like you are really being successful. When in reality, you may not be growing your skill set almost at all. You could be moving completely out of it, just like that last illustration with the developers that were moving into management that didn't want to. Maybe that's not your goal. Maybe that's not what you want to do with your development life. But if you're following somebody else's plan and you're hitting all the benchmarks that they're wanting you to hit, you might have the false sense of security that A, I'm secure in this position at this company, and B, you might have the false sense of success because you're hitting the points that they want you to hit, not necessarily being successful as somebody else who's learning more and who's growing more in their skill set. So someone else's plan is usually compensation based. It's usually a one-size-fits-all program. And honestly, it gives you a false sense of security and success. So how are we going to actually succeed if we're not following a predefined plan? The first time I was let go from a job, it was devastating. It was really hard. And I didn't really know how to respond to it because I had a mixture of feelings that I had done something wrong, even though I hadn't, or that I wasn't good enough, even though I was. And it was very confusing. But after I kind of got over the initial shock, I realized that this was an opportunity for me to pursue something that I knew I needed to grow in. And so what I did was I looked around and I saw what's popular, what's going on right now that maybe I haven't had a chance to learn at this job that I want to pursue in my next job. And so I decided that was going to be front-end application frameworks, so JavaScript frameworks like Angular and React. And honestly, that was the best decision I could have ever made. Yes, it put me into a contract position that only lasted about 18 months, but in those 18 months, I learned 2 of the major front-end JavaScript frameworks. And that gave me a skill set, that grew my skill set in a way that staying at my old company never would have. But the only reason why I even pursued those is because I kind of had my ear to the ground. I had a finger on the pulse, so to speak, of what was popular, what was gaining ground in the development world at the time. And so that's the first thing you need to do in order to blaze your own trail. You need to keep an eye out for what is popular. What is the thing that people are looking for? What's the skill set that companies want so that you can find some place where you can learn that skill set? Because when you're learning a new skill set, you're actually developing your abilities, you're growing your skills, and you are making yourself a better developer. You're actually making yourself more marketable by learning new skills than you are by having a better title or being on a higher rung in a specific company. So blaze your own trail by keeping a pulse on what's popular right now in the development world. But there's a second way that you can blaze your own trail. See, after I was let go from that job where I had learned so much, I kind of took a step back and I was like, man, I've been working hard to learn all this stuff. I just want something that's comfortable and relaxing. And I actually ended up taking another job that was just building and managing WordPress websites. And I'll be real honest with you. I did actually end up getting to a point where I could learn some new things and even was able to implement some of the things that I had learned at the previous job at this new job. But in many ways, my understanding and my skill set kind of shrank a little bit. It regressed a little bit. And I wasn't really as good of a dev when I was done with that job as I was before I came there, because I was more worried about being comfortable and feeling like I knew what I was doing and not pushing myself and growing. And so that's the second part of blazing your own trail, is making sure that you're always growing and you're always learning. See, the dev world is constantly changing. There's always something new to learn. There's always something changing in this industry. And so if you're not growing, you're actually regressing. If you're not adding more skills, you're actually losing skills. So if you're going to blaze your own trail when it comes to your career path, you need to constantly be forcing yourself to be in a position where you're learning something new. But there's one more aspect of blazing your own trail that is absolutely important. One of the best parts about working in the dev world is oftentimes you'll get these things called one-on-ones, and that's an opportunity for you to interact with your manager. And a lot of times those managers will give you specific goals. They'll give you things that they want to see you progress in, things that they want to see you become better at. Maybe it's something that's measurable, where you need to get a certain number of tickets done more than you used to get done. Or maybe it's something that's a little bit less measurable, like learning a brand new JavaScript framework or something like that. But oftentimes those goals are kind of pushed on you by somebody else, especially when you're following somebody else's career path. They want you to hit specific goals so that they can promote you. Well, what you need to do is decide what is important to you as a developer. What are the goals that you want to achieve, both short-term goals and long-term goals. And if you set short-term goals and long-term goals, then you're going to have something to aim for. You're going to have a purpose in the decisions that you make along your career path, along your journey. So again, going back to why I went to that contracting position was because one of my goals was to learn one or more JavaScript frameworks. And I was able to do that when I was at that company. Because I had a goal and I had a purpose, I had something to work towards. And when that was done, whether I wanted it to be done or not, when it was done, I had a skill set and I was a better developer and I was more marketable to my next company because I had more experience. So if you want to blaze your own trail in your career path, you need to keep a pulse on what's popular, what people are looking for in the industry. You need to set your own goals, and you need to keep pushing for growth at every step of the way. Now, if you're still looking for that perfect job, especially looking for your first junior dev role, and you're just having problems finding it, there are some ways that you can earn and learn even as a junior developer. Check out this video to hear about 3 crazy ways to learn and earn as a junior developer. Hey, if you find this information helpful to you, could you hit the like button so that it gets out to more people? And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified the next time we upload a video.